Yo everyone, today I'm going to teach you how to master Japan on F1 2025. First of all, going through a low speed lap example, analysing every corner around this historic, fantastic, I just think wonderful Formula 1 track here in Japan. Then how would I adjust the time trial world record setup to be even better in an online race? Capping off the video with a full speed qualifying lap example with my ERS strategy included, so then you can also use that within your own qualifying situations as well. So, kickstarting off with the low speed lap, turn 1 is easily flat out, but you will get some sort of front bottoming from the surface of the track with so much downforce, so much load and a bit of camber in the track. There's so much energy going through the suspension of the Formula 1 car here in turn 1 of Suzuka. So you will get some front bottoming if your front ride height is quite low, but that is a-okay. What you're looking to do is naturally go flat out through turn 1, gravitate the car to the outside here, hitting the brake about 10, 15, maximum 20%, and then rolling the speed all the way through this right hander. Avoid touching that inside curbing as it will unsettle the car. You can take this in 5th gear. Run the car right up to the limit of the track. On the exit, pull the car instantly to the right hand side. Then you're looking to attack this curbing on the inside. You can take this curbing flat out with a good qualifying setup, but you can lift and it will make the car a bit more stable, so pick what you like to do in that situation. Again, attack the curbing on the inside. This for sure will be a lift of the throttle back down to about 50-60% will be a-okay. Through the left-hander, you can nibble the curb on the inside depending on how stable your car is. If you have quite an understeery car, take the curbing on the inside to help the rotation. If you have quite an oversteery car, avoid the curbing as well. Once again, lifting the throttle to about 50-60%, then through the right-hander here. Again, just lifting the throttle, 5th gear, then pin the throttle as early as possible, using up all the track you can on the exit, then turning in for the spoon corner here, flat out, up and over the crest, and then pull the car to the left hand side as you're trying to minimize the distance as you finish off the first sector. Flat out through the right hander, and you have two choices here. You can attack the curbing on the inside or drive round it. The advantage of attacking the curb on the inside is, of course, you're traveling less distance, but the disadvantage of that is the car will sort of slide around and be unsettled a bit more by the bump. You can open up the track all the way to the limit of the white line, but as you can see, it's very bumpy out here. So what I sort of like to do with the balance that I have is 2 wheels on the red and white part of the curbing for when I'm braking, and that means I have better control and stability of the car to be in a good way to get into this apex right here, because it's absolutely critical you get 2 wheels on the inside curbing here, then running the car out on the exit all the way to the maximum point you want to go is that sort of light green curbing here. If you go any further, the car will bottom out. As you can see, the car's bottom out right now, and you have a bit of gravel as you try to rejoin the track, as you can see on the rear left tire right now. So it's a double negative. You will bottom out if you go too wide, and you'll end up with gravel on the tire. So just to repeat that quite quickly, to make the point extra sort of example, and then yeah, you're basically only wanting to go 2 wheels on the outside green, and an ideal situation, you're kind of looking just to be on the red and white part of the curbing, pulling the car away from that before the gravel zone starts, and then you're heading up into the hairpin, one of my favourite corners on the track, to be honest, as you're going flat out with the right hander, then straight line the braking as much as possible. Not really a identifiable braking zone going into this corner. You sort of have to brake when that curve is ending just behind us right now. It's going to bring my car parallel with it just to show you a little bit better. But yeah, roughly just after this curve is ending on the right hand side will be a-okay. Down into 3rd gear, try to get as close to this curbing on the inside as possible. It's so easy to lock up the front tires here. But yeah, keep the car low in the banking, and then again on the exit, point the car as straight as early as possible. The rear of the car can move around quite a bit here as you're going through quite a lot of camber change and elevation change throughout that corner. Use the outside curbing if you would like the extra track width, then back on the power. Minimize the distance through this mini straight here. If you go wider, you just make more distance for yourself. If you go tighter, you make less distance for yourself. And of course, less distance around a racing track is faster. This, on a good qualifying setup, is just a lift of the throttle here. You don't actually actually need to use the brakes. So what you could do is be a bit cheeky with the entry to the corner here. 2 wheels on the green part of the curbing, down into 6th for the first part here, and then down to 5th in the middle, and then you'll be 2 wheels on the outside here. Again, with a good qualifying setup and a lot of confidence, you don't actually need to use the brake pedal here, as you'll see in my full speed lap example towards the end of the video. Then when you're looking for that final bit of turn in, then you drop it down to 4th, try to meet the apex at this point here. Try not to meet the apex earlier in this point. Quite simply, as you can see, the curbstone goes on for a very long time, and if you meet the curbstone too early, the rest of the corner is very tight, whereas if you meet the curbstone basically where it ends, then you have a really good angle of attack for the exit of the corner to be opening up as much as possible, and then just looking to choose the most economical line down this straight, and just try not to scrub off speed by doing extra turning movements on the steering wheel. 130R, easily flat out in a modern Formula 1 car. But what you're trying to do is look to be maximizing your ability to get back over the left-hand side, then braking just about or just after the 100-meter board. The reason I say just after, to be honest, is 100-meter board is very, very conservative to be braking here. So you're looking to sort of be braking more or less where this sort of track color change is happening underneath the car right now, or about 90-85 meters before the corner would be a nice zone to be braking in. As you can see, the braking zone is not actually straight here, and the track is continuously curving to the right hand side, so just keep that in mind, and you'll be going down into 3rd gear. And depending on the ride height you have on your car, the higher ride height you have, the more curving you can take here. As you can see right now, the ride height on this setup means that you bottom out, which means it's very risky to be going up and over this inside curbing. Whereas if you're running a lower ride height like we are right now, then you have to drive around the curbing a little bit more to not have the car bottom out. And then the same is also true with the left-hander here. If you're running a very high ride height, you can really get up and over this inside curbing, whereas if you're running a lower ride height, you have to sort of drive around it a little bit more. A bit cheeky thing here on the exit is you can run to the green part of the curbing and it will be okay. I'm not going to say it's going to be optimal, but if you do run a little bit wide in chicane, you can run 2 wheels on the outside curbing and get away with it. Ideally though, you just have 2 wheels on the red and white part of the curbing here. When finishing a lap, try to keep the car as tight as possible to minimize distance to the start-finish line. Of course, as I said earlier, the shorter distance you have, the faster lap time you'll have as well around a racing circuit. So with that being said, let's go into the world record time trial setup here in Suzuka F1 2025. And this is a very decent setup, to be honest. This is decent, you know. There's a few things I would already be looking to change, but this is a setup that you can sort of run it in online races and you'll be, I think, quite happy with it as well. And then going through the sections here, so 53% braking bias I would use for the hairpin, but pretty much everywhere else I would use 54, 55, maybe 56 in the final chicane depending on your driving style. And yeah, sort of the only thing I'd be looking to change is go down a bit on that off-road differential. 25, 30 should be a good way to be with. So with that being said, let's head over to the full speed lap example and then how I attack qualifying. How to master Japan on F1 2025. Once you engage 6th gear, enable DRS and the overtake button combination burning down to 80% on the battery. Turn 1 is easily flat out. Use it to set up through turn 2 and the camber in the track will give you extra grip. Pull the car to the right hand side as you go left. Right, lift the throttle through here for stability, lift the throttle a little bit again just here as well, down to 5th for the rotation and hard, back on the power, flat out through spoon curve and burning that overtake button down to 73% as you conclude sector 1. Flat out through here, use it to set up the braking zone, connect with the curbing on the inside and outside of the track for maximum track width and burn the overtake down to 70%. Into the hairpin, earlier on the brakes than you think you might need, very easy to lock up the front tyres. On the exit, back on the overtake button and burning all the way down until 60%. Going in to the left-hander here, down into 6th, you're only lifting the throttle through here, never touch the brake, and concluding the corner in 4th gear, and then you'll be using the overtake button all the way down to finish up Sector 2, starting up Sector 3, and that overtake button will be held down, firmly pressed until you're ready to focus on your braking zone for the final chicane. Down to third gear, use the curb again, and use the remaining amount of that overtake button available to you up until the start finish line, and that is how to master Japan on F1 2025. So as you can see, we've done a 1 minute 26.332 as we're going to go into our sector times right now to go into detail about how we extrapolated the lap time potential around the circuit. A 31.2 in the first sector, a 37.8 in the second, and a 17.2 in the final sector of the lap. I've been Brendon Leigh. Hopefully this track guide has been helpful, informative to you as well, and how you can master this very, very wonderful circuit called Suzuka on F1 2025. Until next video, thank you so much for watching. Grazie, ciao ciao, bye bye.